everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Tuesday. I hope your guys' week is going very well. And I am back at it with another video. This is a highly anticipated video of Venus entering the sign of Aries. If you guys want to see more of my content, I would love to work with you. I love to give you guys lots of insight weekly. Make sure you click the bell button below and subscribe to the channel. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday trying to make sense of what is going on in the cosmos. Now, as a quick reminder, we are seeing all of the transits for the month of February in the February 2025 horoscopes for the 12 rising signs. So if you want more in depth on the month ahead, make sure you check that out. You guys can also join me here on Fridays for live readings. I will be here if you have questions about this particular cycle. It is going to be a doozy. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and let me know where Venus is moving in your natal chart. Are you a natal Venus in Aries? We'd love to hear from you guys. And I'm going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger with this one because there's so much stuff going on. So if you guys have been watching some of my other videos, you know you've been hearing me ramble on and on about how significant Venus in Aries is going to be. We are actually going to see Venus entering into Aries today, February 4th, 2025, and it will be staying in this sign for part 1 until March 27th, 2025. So what? Almost 2 months of Venus in Aries? I guess there's pros and cons to this. I'm going to try to kind of break it down for you guys today and talk a little bit about how this is going to be impacting us collectively, as well as the 12 rising signs. If you guys stay tuned to the end, I will give you all that insight. But essentially, Venus is in shadow. So something you guys need to think about is that we have this planet that deals with pleasure, love, beauty, finances, self-esteem, trends, socializing, all that stuff is moving into a cardinal fire sign, the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, where she is embarking on some new brave journey, going after what the heart desires. But we will see that there may be impulsive actions that we take with investing, with relationships, that we end up kind of reevaluating and maybe changing course on. I have really looked at all of these planets moving into Aries and then kind of retrograding back into Pisces as we're feeling inspired. There's something new coming in the area of Aries in our chart. And in order to embrace that new beginning, we have to go back, reevaluate the past, kind of wrap things up, close up some karmic situations so we can truly start new in 2026. And I know the year just started, but trust me on this. This is pretty much how it's going to be unfolding. Now, obviously, this is going to impact anybody who's got any personal planets in Aries, 0 to about 10, maybe even 11 degrees. The reason being is that Venus is going to turn retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries at the beginning of March. So if you have a natal Venus there, if you are a sun, moon, or rising within the first decan of Aries, you will have an extra prolonged period of being visited by one of the more benefic planets in the sky. So it can bring you more opportunities for love, abundance, relationships, beauty, all of that stuff. Just be mindful of some of the changes that you make. All right, so with that being said, aside from Aries, sun, moon, and rising placements, also Taurus and Libra rising. Venus is your chart ruler. So when Venus changes signs, you need to know what's going on. This may be extra, action-packed for you guys. I think it will be, to be honest with you. But you got to look at your chart as a whole to really see what's kind of going on and where Venus is making aspects for the rest of the 12 rising signs. Now, like I said, she'll be moving from 0 to about 10 degrees. So Venus is very slow, right? She's going to spend the entire next almost month and a half between this 10 degrees. So these are the early degrees. This is the first decan of Aries, which has connections and associations with Mars, which is going to give it a little bit more of a Mars punch, but a little bit more of like a Mars flavor. Now, let's talk a little bit about the characteristics of Venus in Aries, right? So essentially, Venus moving through this sign, I find that it's very energetic and there's a lot of passion. That's something that you see a lot with Venus in Aries. This is all about relationships that have like this fiery, passionate energy. And love becomes adventurous, impulsive, and also direct, because this is a sign ruled by Mars. So it wants to get there quick. It wants to be the first. It's very much about personal pleasure, what they are hoping to achieve in terms of relationships. This is also a very independent sign, right? Pioneering, entrepreneurial, all of these kind of characteristics come with the sign of Aries. And they always have this strong desire for freedom and independence when it comes to love. This is where individuals might be prioritizing their own needs or desires over partnership stability. And this is where you can kind of see that Mars influence come in, where there can sometimes be some tension or some friction in romantic endeavors. Now, I have found that this is definitely the Venus placement that is very quick to love and also quick to move on. So relationships can start very quickly, but they can also swiftly shift or end if it doesn't hold interest or excitement. And that's because they need to be stimulated. They are all about the passion, right? The adventure, the excitement. Aries is known also as like a hunter sign. Similar to Sagittarius, it goes after what it wants. So this is like the Venus that's like looking for the damsel in distress. It wants to go through the obstacle course and all of the challenges to be able to kind of get the girl. And that's because it really loves the thrill of the chase. Now, they're action-oriented. Venus here loves to act, pursue, and initiate love, and it leads to very bold romantic gestures. And that's something that I do like about this sign. They're never shy when it comes to their affection. When we think about the effects that this is going to have on us collectively, right? So I think that Venus going into shadow, Venus retrogrades, which we're going to see next month, is definitely big for cultural shifts. And I go in depth into this right now. I'm actually working on a webinar for Venus retrograde. I'm probably going to have this ready like the next week or two for you guys for purchase. We'll do a part 2 video when we get closer to the Venus retrograde. But for those of you guys who want one of my kind of more in-depth webinars and lectures, you're not going to want to miss this one, because I talk about all the cultural patterns that we've seen the last 3 times that we have seen a Venus retrograde in Aries. There's a very unique signature. Venus is associated with femininity, women, right? And then obviously Aries is associated with Mars. So we see battles of the sexes kind of going on, and we see cultural movements associated with feminism, and also themes revolving around conflict and war. And this is kind of like the scorned woman energy. So we see lots of themes revolving around women's rights that definitely come up, revolving around Venus retrograde in Aries. And I think that during this transit in particular, there's going to be a collective push towards valuing independence in relationships, possibly leading to new trends in dating or relationship dynamics. Short to follow after these transits, we will see that Saturn and Neptune will be going into Aries as well. So there's going to be this huge collective emphasis and focus on, individualism, what I love, who I am, how do I stand out from the crowd, what am I initiating in comparison to what everybody else is doing. So there's going to be a lot more opportunity for self-reflection. I do think that we can see increased social activity with this transit. There could be a surge in social events, parties, and activities where people meet and express themselves more openly and more assertively. Maybe people are more forward about trying to find love. They're more forward when it comes to taking chances, with matters of partnership or even finances. People are going to be willing to take risks if they see the potential for big reward. Now, this will lead to patterns of economic impulsivity. I am pretty convinced of this, especially in terms of finance, because that's what Venus rules. There might be more impulsive buying, leading to economic trends that favor quick trend-driven purchases. But these trends, they might die off pretty quickly during the retrograde. So we might see about a month or two here with some pretty significant cultural trends, style trends, financial trends that might peak and then kind of come back down. But on a personal level, I think that this is going to bring for a lot of us opportunities for romantic boldness. People might feel more courageous in expressing their affection or making the first move in romantic contexts. There's also going to be a huge emphasis on self-value, focusing on self-worth, encouraging individuals to assert their value in personal, professional relationships more boldly, a lot more confidence, I think, in some of these endeavors. And yes, we can see some conflict that does happen when we have planets go through Aries, because this is a sign that likes to spar. It has no problem kind of ruffling feathers and focusing more on itself, which can cause some friction in relationship dynamics with other people. Sometimes the directness of Aries energy can lead to this friction if it's not managed well. This can potentially lead to more arguments or breakups if desires are clashing. Now, you kind of factor that in with the Venus retrograde that's coming in, and I could see some people who are acting out or being a little bit more independent or being a little bit more brash in relationships. And then there's going to be this realization that's like, whoa, if I continue to do that, relationships end, jobs can end, financial situations can seem a little bit more taxed. So take that into consideration. And as many of you guys know, planets are going to behave better or perform better in certain signs. So obviously, traditionally, we like to see Venus in Taurus. We like to see it in Libra. We like to see it in Pisces. These are the signs where Venus really thrives. So when Venus is in Aries, she's in the opposite sign of her home sign of Libra. This is considered in her fall. So this means that there's a conflict with the nature of the planet. Basically, because Venus is associated with love, beauty, and harmony, it kind of is at odds with the themes revolving around Aries, which is impulsive and combative in nature. So Venus prefers peace and compromise, right? And when she moves through the sign of Aries, we overlook that in pursuit of personal desires. And people are less willing to negotiate because they're going to be more fiery and passionate about what it is that they want. I have found that Venus and Aries placements tend to have a bit of like a lack of patience. And this could lead to lack of patience in relationships where, nurturing and slow building aspects of love are less emphasized. So they have a tendency sometimes to kind of rush into something. Aries energy is known for initiating and starting things, which is great, but it's not always known for finishing them. So there can be a lot of like whirlwind romance, not getting what we want in one area, kind of pivoting, going in a different direction. And we could be seeing people doing some of the same thing also when it comes to investment strategy or purchasing trends or, just how they're managing their finances. So be mindful of like the patience aspect being tested throughout this period. But what am I expecting in terms of this transit in a nutshell? New beginnings in love, right? I think that retrogrades are karmic in their nature. We see things from the past come back up for reevaluation, or if we're meant to reconnect or if we're meant to connect with someone, generally that happens during a retrograde. While Venus goes retrograde, she will be meeting with the North Node in Pisces again. She will also be meeting with Saturn again. So there is this theme of if we really want something new, if we really want our garden to grow, we have to go back into the Pisces area of our chart and figure out what do we need to clean up, finish up, what do we need to heal, what karma do we need to deal with so we can really be free to love more authentically. And a lot of this is going to connect with self-love, how we better love ourselves, become more aware of our needs so that way we can be 100% to meet our partners halfway. But watch for new beginnings in love. I think that we will see some people starting new relationships, rekindling passion in existing ones, which can be very exciting. Also, lots of creative outbursts. I find that there is more spontaneous artistic expression that happens in this sign, or risky ventures in creative fields. Watch for social conflicts. We can definitely see potential for increased social or romantic conflicts due to the assertive nature of Aries and the potential for misunderstandings while this planet is in shadow. To best work with this, you just really want to embrace your authenticity, be true to your desires in love, and also have awareness of other people's feelings because it can be hard for us to see outside of ourselves during this time. We also want to channel this energy constructively. So if we use this high energy for personal projects, self-improvement, rather than only in romantic pursuits, it's going to be a lot better for us. So, practicing, an instrument, focusing on a new hobby, falling in love with new things and things that can be personal to ourselves are going to kind of help better keep the balance so there is not going to be friction in romantic relationships. I recommend being mindful of communication as well and practicing patience. Obviously, clear communication is necessary to avoid conflicts. And I think that if we're aware of it, we're going to be better prepared for preventing some of these issues that we have with other people. Now, like I said, Venus is going to be in the first decan. So this is going to be 3 to 10 degrees. And this is a sign that is, or a decan that is associated with Mars. So this is heavily influenced and kind of like doubling down on the themes of action, initiation, and assertiveness in love and money. Venus here might feel particularly on edge, and there's this sense of pushing for immediate gratification, right? That's kind of the vibe that I get with Venus here. It's like, okay, if I'm not getting what I want, move on to the next. This isn't making me money, moving on to the next. This doesn't fulfill me, on to the next thing. And we will see people that will just be kind of trying to kind of push the envelope when it comes to some of these topics. And like I said, because Venus is in shadow, you guys are going to start seeing the retrograde effect. We have a pre-shadow where Venus is going to go 0 to 10 degrees, and this is where she will then get ready to retrograde on March 1st. Then she will retrograde back into Pisces, and you will be seeing that kind of March going into April before she finally goes direct in mid-April. For many of us, this could mean, quite frankly, we are reevaluating or revisiting old flames, old relationships, old scenarios, and things coming up for reevaluation. So you guys don't need to wait until Venus turns retrograde to see some of these things. We will also be reassessing our values. So this is giving us time to kind of think about what we value in relationships in terms of, personal aesthetics. Obviously, retrogrades can bring delays or misunderstandings. So starting new business ventures, new financial ventures, new romantic relationships, making big investments, planning weddings, things like that. You guys want to be mindful that this is tricky now, okay? Especially when we see eclipses and Mercury turn retrograde at the same time in March. It's going to be wild. So patience is key. In my mind, trying to push for relationship commitments, trying to make big investments, all of these things, we want to kind of pace ourselves and take our time until we get to the second half of April when this energy starts to clear out. But what do I think this can do? I think this can help deepen relationships. I think that while new beginnings may be delayed, this period can really be excellent for deepening existing connections or addressing unresolved issues. Think of Venus retrograde in Aries as a slow burn, right? Even though it really wants to go pedal to the metal in a whirlwind romantic scenario, if we are taking our time to really figure out, is this a match? Do I love this thing, this person, this job? Is this right for me? Do I value this? We can actually have a deeper appreciation, and there can be more solid kind of connections and I think commitments moving forward in the spring of 2025. So interesting to me that the degrees which Venus will be retrograding at, so 10 degrees, will be conjunct the solar eclipse that we're going to have in Aries at the end of March. And that tells me that that is kind of like a part 2 of whatever is being revealed to us in the area of, Aries in our chart. Mercury will retrograde over that degree as well. And when Mercury turns retrograde, we will see it turn retrograde in March in conjunction to Venus. And this is going to be matters of the mind and matters of the heart that are being reevaluated. And I think for a lot of people, this is spelling out major changes with their personal finances, major changes when it comes to their value system, their style, how they're spending money, how they're budgeting money. And it's just a bigger picture when you start to kind of put all of the separate, solar eclipse, retrogrades, all of these things together. And then the grand finale will be as we get into May, we will see Saturn enter into Aries. In April, Neptune enters into Aries. So it's very obvious to me that something big, something brand new is coming in the area of Aries in your chart. All the retrogrades, the eclipses, the ingresses are all saying the same thing. Venus is leading the way. So what she's basically saying is we must open up to something new, some new thing that we value. We must find pleasure in a new way. We must take action and responsibility for what we love, how we spend, what we look like, and how we treat ourselves. Now, Mars is the dispositor of Venus while she's in the sign of Aries, at least until she moves back into Pisces at the beginning of April. Mars is retrograde. So we've got Mars moving through a sign that deals with the past, right? Cancer, past home, emotional, family, domestic matters. As many of you guys have noticed throughout this Mars retrograde, there's been some particularly challenging aspects, several oppositions to Pluto where there's been some power struggles, several squares to Chiron where there's been some pain revolving around the past and how our family lineage, our karma, anything revolving around domestic issues, home matters is actually creating a lot of personal wounding. Homelessness, moving, family, problems, all of these things have been kind of coming up with Mars in a hard aspect to Chiron. So I think that this is also kind of foreshadowing some of the same themes. If you guys look today,
with Venus's ingress into Aries, Mars is in a direct square with Chiron. Not great. Both at a 19, so it's talking about relational issues, problems in partnerships, marriages, one-on-one relationships, and where there's some domestic squabbles and disputes that's leading some people to feel like they're on their own. We've seen this square several times, and we will continue to see it until Mars leaves Cancer in several weeks' time. I think about how, this is really going to be heavily influencing Venus up until the time that Mars goes direct, which won't be until closer to February 24th. So right around the time Mars is going direct, then shortly after, about a week later, we see Venus turn retrograde. And then right after that, we see Mercury turn retrograde. So there's been tension that's been building, tension with past issues, emotions, things that we've been compartmentalizing and not dealing with. That's finally leading to this moment where Aries breaks free and it goes, that's enough. I can't, this is not loving myself, loving the situation or participating in this relationship or in this job or in this home dynamic. It's not healthy for me. And I find that Aries is kind of like where we strike the match and we're like, okay, you know what? We're going to burn this bridge or we're going to start something new. So it's all connected basically is what I'm trying to get at. And yeah, there will be a second video that I'm going to be doing for you guys as we get closer to the Venus retrograde. Until then, you might want to marinate on these particular time periods. These were the last times that Venus went retrograde in the sign of Aries. Now, they always took place in the spring, so the most recent was in spring of 2017. Then we also saw a Venus retrograde that was in the spring of 2009. And there was also one that took place in the spring of 2001. Now, I unpack a lot of that more in my webinar, and I talk about the connections, both economically, what was going on with the markets, which was not good news, but also some of the social themes that were going on globally and some of the major world events, which are all heavily connected to all of these times. And if you're somebody who's been around long enough to know, you know that 2009 and 2001 were pretty significant economic years with the dot-com, bubble bust. And then we also had the 2009 kind of the fallout, the shakeout after the 2008 economic issues that we saw here in the United States. And then 2017 has been a continuation of cleaning some of that stuff up, dealing with some of that post that fallout. And also we saw the Me Too movement where all these women were shaving their heads, Aries is bald, in solidarity to basically support one another for women who have been involved in abuse in the media, in Hollywood, and anything that dealt with like sexual assault. So lots of similarities here. I think you're going to see some similar themes revolving around women's rights, reproductive rights, talks about inflamed issues in relationships, especially when it comes to trade, and some economic challenges are definitely going to be taking place. So all of those things are going to be in my webinar. Closer to the end of March, we'll be doing a part 2 and we'll take a deeper look at the actual Venus retrograde. But because Venus is going to be in the same sign and the same degrees basically for a month, I recommend opening up to trying to figure out how to find more pleasure, more beauty, how to enjoy yourself, how to indulge more into the area of Aries. Because I think that she is kind of she's like the megaphone basically for some of the other ingresses that are going to be going on there. So if we can give a little bit more love to that area of our chart, certainly I think that we're going to fare a lot better as we get into April, May, and June of this year. All right, so I'm going to be showing you guys what it looks like for Venus entering into the sign of Aries. Like I said, I am going to be showing you all of the 12 signs. I'll be doing this with the whole sign method. So I'm going to be going off of the rising whole signs for Western tropical astrology. Remember that the first pass of Venus in Aries is February 4th through March 27th, 2025. Then we will see Venus turn retrograde March 1st all the way until April 12th, 2025, and it will be retrograding back into Pisces. So you don't just want to look at the area of Aries in your chart. Aries is where you're going to be opening up to this new experience, loving something, paying more attention to it, investing more time, emotions, or energy into that. We have to look also at Pisces because that's where Venus will be retrograding back to. Take into consideration the houses which Venus rule in your chart as well. You need to look at Taurus as well as Libra because that's going to paint a bigger picture to give you some insight as to what this Venus transit is going to be all about.
All right, so let's take a look. We're going to start with Aries and Aries rising. What's going on, Aries? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm sure, especially for those of you guys who were the early degrees, I actually feel like this can be a very beneficial time for you, okay? So Venus is the planet, obviously, that deals with relationships, like one-on-one close relationships, clients, partnerships, spouses, fiancés, boyfriends, girlfriends, all that stuff. Is connected to Venus. So with Venus in your first house, especially for an extended period of time, it's bringing more love in, right? It's bringing more affection in very quickly, very passionately. It's good for beauty. It's also good for self-love and appearance. Now, Venus also deals with the second house of money, resources, self-esteem, and value. So I could see a lot of Aries and Aries risings because Venus is moving through your first house. You know, this is going to be impacting yourself, your identity, and your appearance. Now, I am predicting that this is going to be boosting your self-esteem. It's going to encourage you to look for a new look or a new style or promote a more assertive kind of sense of yourself and how you present yourself to others. I'm also predicting that you might be making bold changes to, you know, what you are doing with money, what you value, you know, resources and things that you're hoping to purchase or possess. My only recommendation here is that because Venus will be retrograde, you want to be mindful of impulsive decisions regarding your image. Choose changes that will feel comfortable for you in the long term. Now, Venus will be retrograde through your first house back into the 12th. So I think for a lot of like Aries, it's going to mean like somebody comes in very quickly and they're very interested in you and they want to work with you. They want to date you. They want to, you know, kind of be with you. And you're like, whoa, you know, give me some space. Let me think about this. Am I ready? You know, do I want my independence? Do I want my freedom? It can also represent a turning point where you're really asking yourself, do I want to be in this relationship any longer? Do I want to work with this business partner? You know, have I had too much one-on-one time with this client? Is it time to kind of let go of this therapist? Something like that is likely going to be happening. And I really recommend temporary things, okay? You want to get a tattoo, you want to dye your hair, you want to, you know, get a piercing, whatever. Try, you know, get a wig, do a demi-dye, you know, maybe do a fake tattoo, maybe wear a fake, you know, nose ring or something, just to make sure you really like it before you actually end up making a huge change in your appearance or making any major investment in personal style changes. Because with the retrograde, you're going to reevaluate and you might go, actually, I don't like this. I thought I wanted this or I valued this, but I don't. And there's still something that is yet to emerge in regards to your personal image and style. And that's going to be a storyline that's going to be playing out for you over the next several months until Saturn and Neptune are also both in your sign. You got a solar eclipse coming too, so that's something to think about, you know. And I've seen a lot of people who have been saying, oh, I'm an Aries rising, or I have Venus in Pisces, and da-da-da-da-da. You know, I'm going to say the same thing to everybody. Likely people will change their mind. So you have to look at the whole sign and the whole chart to really get an idea of whether or not it does make sense to make cosmetic changes. Unfortunately, just having Venus moving into Aries, you know, that's a placement where she is going to be a bit debilitated. So I can't really recommend across the board for everybody, yeah, you know, get the cosmetic surgery, change your hair, do this, do that. You're gonna have to look at your chart. This is where a personal astrologer comes in handy. So if you're an Aries or an Aries rising, and you know you want to make a big dramatic change, you know that you want to make a big purchase, you're making a big decision about a relationship, you know, it's transits like this that really make sense to invest in talking to an astrologer. Venus rules your seventh house. Your seventh house is, you know, counselors, therapists, managers, and astrologers. So definitely be a good idea for Aries placements to talk to somebody and get some insight if you're thinking about making any of these big changes. All right, so the card that I got for you, Aries, is the Knight of Wands. And is that not like a much more like perfect example, I think, of this energy? Knights are dedicated to their cause. They run into battle. They charge on their horse. They're passionate. They're driven. And in the element of fire, right, the wands, this is about being courageous and bold when it comes to what you desire. It's not necessarily about committed relationships. It's not necessarily about you know, marriage. It's more like, I want to be in this for the thrill of it. I'm loving this. This is exciting.
And so likely you're going to be feeling a little bit more daring and willing to take risks, and also being more focused on the moment, being here in this day, rather than worrying about the past and what's gone wrong in past relationships or what didn't work out, and also stressing or being, a little bit too overly worried about the future. Be here now. Chase after what makes you feel the most alive. That's my recommendation for this Venus transit for you, Aries. All right, we got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? You ready for your chart ruler to change signs? All right, so Taurus, Venus is changing signs, which is important for you because Venus rules Taurus. So it definitely deals with your body, your appearance, when Venus goes into a different house, you're going to be kind of paying attention and doing something different during that particular time. Venus doesn't only rule your first house of self and body, it also rules your sixth house, which is about your health, your habits, your routines, your coworkers. It's also going to be about your pets. It can also be about like healing things or being of service. So having Venus move into the 12th house is 12 signs away from you. So it almost feels like there is something etheric, dreamy, kind of spiritual, otherworldly, maybe foreign. And it's hard to kind of grasp things when it's in the 12th house. I could see for some Taurus and Taurus risings, likely this is going to be a situation where you're really thinking a lot more about how you can help the collective. This is also subconscious. It's about secrets, and the 12th house is a concluding house. So this is about endings. So I'm predicting for some of you guys that there may be hidden desires that start to surface, and it can lead to secretive behavior when it comes to love and money. Okay, that can happen. 12th house is bed pleasures. So for some of you guys, it can be particularly sexy time. There can be some secret kind of romantic things that can be a little taboo that are going on behind the scenes. This can also be a period of introspection or dealing with hidden aspects of relationships. Hidden enemies is the 12th house, so you can be more on alert as to who can I or can I not trust, especially when it comes to work relationships, people with work. There can be some inter-office romance dramas that can be kind of going on. I do recommend taking time to have a spiritual routine, a practice, meditation, rituals on love, meditations on Fridays. These things can kind of help you negate some of the more negative effects that you can have with Venus in the 12th house. However, I think that if you're using this time for self-reflection, it can be very spiritual, very enlightening. It can also be about healing things, retreats, foreign travel, things like that can come up when Venus is in the 12th house, and it can be an opportunity to go places and have adventure and feel like you're breaking out of your usual routine. I just recommend being very cautious because secrets are coming to light during Venus retrograde. So if there are some secret affairs that are going on, likely it can kind of be brought out in the open as Venus eventually retrogrades back into Pisces. Take care of your health, mind your health with your first house Lord retrograde. I think that's something else that I would really focus on. And Aries is heat, and 12th house can be about spas. Saunas, right? Going to spas, sitting in warm bathtubs. Maybe you're going to be using infrared light. Anything like that to kind of help heal can be really beneficial for you. The card that I got is the Two of Coins, okay? So for Taurus and Taurus risings, I see this as kind of like, do I still feel like I can give it my all? And this could be in a relationship, this could be at work, this could feel like you're juggling too many things and you need to kind of take a step back and you need more time to rest, or maybe take like a quick trip or a vacation away. And feeling like maybe you're just overloaded with carrying too much stuff on your shoulders and juggling too much stuff or having too many irons in the fire. So it can be wonderful with Venus in the 12th house if you need some time to kind of step back and go like, is it time for me to change my schedule? Do I need to change jobs? Am I, like taking on too much? And if you don't take time for rest and recuperation, your body will make you do this, whether you like it or not. And this could be through an injury or this could be through an illness. So obviously, touch wood, we don't want to manifest that. We don't want that happening, but I would definitely consciously work with this energy to take more time off if necessary, okay? Let me know, Taurus. I hope it's a good one for you. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's up, Gemini? You got Venus entering Aries in your natal 11th house. Liking this transit for you for the most part, especially with eventually some of the sextiles that we're going to start to kind of see with Jupiter. which is going to be beneficial for you, especially when it comes to receiving more recognition at work, better relationships, things like that. So Venus is moving through Aries in your 11th house, and this is the house of friendships. It's about hopes, it's about groups, networking, and also derivative money that comes from work. So this is the money that you make. This is your paycheck. So when you have Venus enter into this house, it's touching on your 12th house lord, which can be about the subconscious, things that are hidden money themes, hidden romance themes, hidden themes revolving around stability, as well as your 5th house of romance, children, creativity, self-expression, and taking chances. So who doesn't love Venus in the 11th house? I mean, this is amazing for increases in social activity. It's great for parties. It's great for adventures and going and getting active with a group of people. But it may also lead to conflicts with some of these people. So that's something that you want to take into consideration. There could be unexpected conflicts and challenges that you're having with groups or friends. Now, this could also mean that this could be other people's children, as Venus is going into the 11th house. If you have kids, if you got little ones, you can hear that they're not getting along at school. There's some conflicts, there's some squabbles. That's possible because of Venus's connection to your 5th. I do think for some of you guys, this could definitely be a period where there are new friendships or the re-emergence of old ones, but not all of them are going to last. Not all of the groups that you're going to participate in are you going to stay in. I recommend being selective with new social connections and also keeping in mind that this retrograde can bring up past group dynamics to be resolved. So it's possible unexpectedly somebody you had a friendship falling out with could come back. You guys could have a new beginning. Equally, I think that this can be a time where if you're somebody who creates, if you create art, if you create content, if you're self-employed, this is giving you more time to show stuff to your audience, more time to present to groups, more time to kind of get your moment in the sun. And we know Venus will retrograde back to your 10th house. So group dynamics are going to equate to better career advancement. So you want to work well with other people and maybe approach group dynamics in a new, more active way. All right, the card that I get for you guys is the Hermit card. So it's interesting. I think that, retrogrades in general remind me of the Hermit card. It's a period of turning within and reevaluating. We know that retrogrades are very much internal versus when planets are direct is external action. So asking yourself, is this really something that I want? Do I really want to be working with this company? Do I really want to make more money? Do I really want to have new relationships, new friendships? Do I want to go out and be social? Use the retrograde period to reflect, see who comes up, early. You might see some stuff that's coming up with like a Virgo because this is a card that's associated with Virgo, or maybe getting clarity on where there has been some group dynamic issues in the past. Good luck, Gemini. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Venus's transit through the sign of Aries in your natal 10th house. All right, Cancer. Well, this is an exciting transit for you. I think that this is definitely faint whispers of some of the new emerging changes coming for your career or your public image or your identity out in the world. Now, the 10th house deals with work. So where you're working, your reputation, recognition that you're getting. This could also be relationships with bosses. And certainly love can be found in the workplace if Venus is in the 10th house. But I do think that I would take into consideration that there will be a retrograde here. So if you're a Cancer or Cancer rising, changing jobs, going back to an old job, reevaluating whether or not you want to stop doing what you're doing, go into a completely different direction. There is a process over the next couple of months. Now, it is possible that there could be bold career moves, and this can be good and also entrepreneurial. There can also be changes in public perception, but with potential for later regret. So I think of like false starts in launching businesses, false starts in taking new jobs and positions. Be mindful that this energy is going to be very changeable the next couple of weeks. But I do recommend, really pushing yourself and asserting yourself in your career, getting out there, socializing, mixing, mingling, meeting other people. It could be a time where you're potentially getting a promotion or a job change. And I would just say, consider long-term career goals before making your move. This retrograde may require you to reassess your career path. Now, Venus deals with the 11th house of others, goals, and money derivative from work. So something about you going, well, I'd like to make more, or I'd like to join a new company, or, you know, I need to get out there and mix and mingle online, put my resume out there, see who kind of picks it up. Maybe you've got a friend or somebody who kind of helps you getting into a new job. Venus also connects with the 4th house, which deals with the home and it deals with the family. So it is possible there could be a family business that is being taken over, maybe being sold. Maybe you're thinking about getting involved in property or real estate. Maybe this is a time where you're moving out of being home all the time and moving back into being in the office. Some of you guys might be relocating for work or focusing on parenting needs. Regardless, this is really showing me that you're opening up to a new identity out in the world, and it's going to be something very significant considering you'll have a solar eclipse in your 10th house along with a ton of retrogrades right before Saturn shows up. And you know, you guys have had your 10th house ruler retrograde for the last several weeks, so you have been reevaluating, who am I out in the world? What do I want to do? Where am I going? I can tell you one thing, it's going to be something completely brand new. All right, let's take a look, see what the cards say for you. Well, you get the Queen of Wands. I feel like we're going to see a lot of wands today. Queen of Wands. So this can be about an Aries, a Sagittarius, or a Leo that can be popping in, or you kind of embodying more of this energy of the Queen of Wands. Passionate, daring, and also somebody who is nurturing something. So what are you nurturing? I think about Saturn going into this house, and it's going to be about partnerships, one-on-one relationships, offering some kind of service or something. Get creative, open yourself up to something new, and know that there is going to be lots of bold moves that are taking place, possibly with support from another woman. Good luck, Cancer. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Venus moving into Aries in your natal 9th house. Like this transit for you guys a lot. Obviously, the 9th house is going to deal with philosophy, travel, higher education, certifications, law, publishing. This is a house that is about good fortune. This is traditionally associated with Jupiter. So I think that this is making everything bigger. It's making everything broader. Having Venus going into this sign is really cool because if you have anything 0 to 10 degrees of Leo, it will be trining your personal placements, which is going to be fiery, inspirational, and adventurous. I do think that this might push for impulsive travel or educational pursuits, pushing personal philosophies to new limits. I also think that you might be indulging more in travel. Venus is about luxury and indulging. So you're more likely to get that first class ticket, to book the trip, to decide to take the course, to take a risk and go somewhere that you've never been before, perhaps even by yourself. So watch for those spontaneous trips or sudden interest in learning something new. There can also be teachers or training events, mentors or gurus that can come into your life as well. I just really recommend, okay, Leo and Leo rising, research thoroughly before committing to travel or study. The retrograde could mean you're revisiting education or travel plans. Now, specifically, Venus is connected to your 3rd house of contracts, communications, vehicles, things that you read, and the details. It's also connected to your 10th house of career and education. 9th house is career and education. 10th house is just career. So I kind of see this as some of you guys might be going, well, I want to go on this trip to be able to go and network. I want to maybe travel somewhere and go through a course or a certification. Maybe you're doing long distance training of some kind. And all of this is with the intention to broaden your career. Some of you guys might have changes in your travel plans. Some of you guys might see delays happening with the legal matter, delays also happening in regards to education. Considering Venus is going to drop back down into your 8th house, this is money owed, right? So I look at this and I go, all right, I put it all together. Leo risings may be trying to get a refund for a plane ticket, or they might go on a trip and then, you know, they land at the hotel that they're supposed to be in or the Airbnb and they're not satisfied with the accommodations. Read the fine print, make sure that things are refundable, thoroughly plan anything when it comes to travel or education, be mindful and be flexible that there's going to be some changes. But likely, I think that this can give you the opportunity to really expand your career. So if you're in education, you want to start teaching courses, you may do that. If you are somebody who wants to get a certification, you may do that. If you've been waiting to kind of write your book or publish it, you may do that. It's just going to be a process to kind of watch this unfold, okay? All right, so let's see what card you get. You get the 4 of Wands. Look at all these wands, guys. This is cool. Celebrations, temporary spaces. This can also be about ceremonies, so graduations. This could be about weddings, right? This is a wedding card. This is about parties and kind of like going places that are going to be there temporarily. Look for, I would say like look for group education opportunities. Like if you're going to go and do like a retreat, or maybe you're going to want to go and do like studying at a distance with a group of people. Anything that's going to be temporary, kind of short periods or shorter trips might be kind of highlighted during this time. Good luck, Leo. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You guys will be experiencing Venus's transit into the sign of Aries in your natal 8th house. All right, well, the 8th house is obviously sometimes a little spooky. This deals with shared resources, intimacy, transformation, inheritances, taxes, psychological shifts. And the 8th house is a sexy house as well. So Venus going through the 8th house can definitely be a time where you're more capable of having access to other people. Intimacy is the theme, exchange, sex, passion, but also joint investments. So your partner's money, the money you have invested in your retirement accounts, things that you also have in your savings, stuff tied to insurance as well can kind of come up here. Now, when planets go through the 8th house, they go through a transformation. So I think about how Venus in the 8th house works. It's really about deepening intimate relationships. And also it can bring up power struggles in regards to financial disputes or anything with shared resources. So think inheritances, think taxes, think even like insurance matters. Like there can be a back and forth about some of that stuff. I'm predicting there can be intense and emotional financial interactions during this time, and I really recommend approaching shared resources with caution. The retrograde might bring up past issues in terms of intimacy and finance. Now, Venus rules your 2nd house of your money, what's in your bank account, what's in your wallet, what you possess, what you spend. The 8th house is that of your partners or that of your investment, partners, or that of your bank. It could also be inheritance matters. And Venus is connected also to the 9th house. So there can be some kind of back and forth regarding what I paid for education. Think student loans, right? What I paid for travel. A back and forth over a legal dispute or a legal matter, waiting for it to settle, which may include some kind of like, closing up of that and settlement and some distribution of funds. So there is a storyline revolving around that. Maybe it can be about how you're paying off, a trip, how you're paying for a wedding even, because the 9th house could be ceremonies, and a back and forth with, okay, how do we come up with the funds? It's a little tricky because obviously, Venus is in conjunct or quincunx your sign, so you guys don't really have a lot in common. And this is a Mars-ruled sign, so it's also going to be about your relationship to intimacy, your relationship to another person's income. And Venus will dip back into Pisces. So it means that there's going to be certain truths, I think, that are going to be unveiled in a relationship revolving around a partner's income and finances. Pay attention, Virgo, okay? Because Saturn and Neptune are going to go into the 8th house as well. Now, for some of you guys, obviously touch wood, this is kind of saying that there is an impending change to a relationship. That means that you might be entitled to, child support, spousal support, some kind of settlement with a divorce. It can also mean that there is an aging grandparent, something going on with the grandparent, and you are on the brink of receiving some kind of inheritance of some kind, okay? Because that would be the 7th house. Obviously touch wood, but that is possible. Yeah, watch for the secrets in regards to love and money coming up in your life. That's the one thing that I would say to watch out for. Card that I get is the 7 of Wands. Wow, lots of wands, guys. This is pretty on point. Standing your ground, okay? And so standing your ground, I think about how, you are getting ready to have Saturn and Neptune go into the 8th. I see this as other people having to pay their dues. If you have a roommate, being like, hey, rent's going up, utilities are going up, we need to split the difference. If you have a partner, talking about how you guys are contributing to your savings account or how you guys are paying off your debt. Are they, meeting you halfway? 7 of Wands is about not backing down and making sure that you get what you deserve or what you desire. So I think I would be standing up for some of that stuff if you feel like something is owed to you during this transit, and then seeing how that transpires through the retrograde and it impacts your relationships. Good luck, Virgo. We've got Libra and Libra rising. What's going on, Libra? Your chart ruler is on the move. Obviously, you are ruled by Venus, and Venus is moving into your opposite sign, Aries, in your 7th house of relationships, committed partnerships, clients, and your marketplace. Obviously, you know, Venus loves to be in the 7th house, right? So Venus likes being in the 2nd house. It likes being in the 7th house. This is a transit that is definitely very much about partnerships, contracts, relationships, but also open enemies. So with Venus going here, you know, relationships may be initiated with enthusiasm, but I would say, you know, they can also be challenging because the 7th house does deal with open enemies and challenges. Certainly if you're a single Libra or Libra rising, this can be a time where you're initiating relationships, you're getting out there, you're meeting people. If not, you just might be spending more time with committed partnerships, maybe working with a new therapist or a new manager of some kind, a new astrologer of some kind. And this can also be a time where you just feel more at ease in relationship with other people. Now, I'm predicting that new partnerships or the rekindling of old ones can happen, but they need very careful handling, right? Especially considering Venus will turn retrograde in the 7th, which means you might be changing your mind about who you're partnering with, whether it's a client, a business partner, a marital partner, or somebody that you have a close relationship to. You may be pulling out of that relationship. Now, be clear in your negotiations and your contracts. This retrograde can definitely, you know, bring up the themes of needing to reevaluate or renegotiate relationship terms. Venus doesn't only rule your 1st house of the self and body, it also rules the 8th house of other people's resources and money. And, you know, I feel like this could be a situation where, you know, somebody said to you, yes, let's work together. I'm going to give you this cut. And then through the retrograde, you realize actually, you know, it's not a fair split, or you're not getting enough, or there is some kind of secret that's being revealed in regards to relationships. And that could be one-on-one relationships or working partnerships, as Venus will retrograde back into your work zone. This is also a time where you may be consulting with other people about your appearance, about your health. And I think this is actually a good thing. This will be more when Venus is in Pisces, but if you need to check in with a doctor, go back to therapy, if you need to see a specialist, a holistic practitioner, somebody who can kind of help you with your health and make some really significant physical or psychological changes, this is a good thing to do, Libra. It's something that you should really consider. But watch out for those blasts from the past, relationships coming back from out of nowhere, hard realizations, and I think decisions being made about existing relationships and where things need to change. You will see over the next couple of months, Mercury will retrograde here, you'll have a solar eclipse here, and then Saturn and Neptune will go into your 7th house. So for single Libras and Libra risings looking for committed relationships, it seems to be on the horizon. It seems like you're ready for a new turning point in regards to relationships with others. But Aries is the self. So it's going to start with how you relate to other people, what boundaries you're creating, what your non-negotiables are, maybe who is supporting you, who is guiding you or mentoring you in some way through this process of embracing relationships in a new way. It can also be a time where existing partnerships are being tested. As we all know, relationships actually end in the 6th house. So to see retrogrades back into the 6th, for some married Libra risings who have been in a partnership for a while, if it hasn't been working, it can finally kind of come to this turning point this spring where you're like, enough is enough, I want out. And it could be the beginning of the end as you're kind of approaching a new way of looking at relationships. So let's take a look and let's see what this means for my Libras and my Libra risings. Card that I get is the 5 of Swords. Okay, so this is playing more on the combativeness of Venus in Aries. 5 of Swords is, you know, not understanding why somebody will not go back and forth and spar with you or be combative with you or have conflict with you. It can mean that you're frustrated that you're not able to get the closure that you're needing from another person, or that you're frustrated about the exchange that you're having with them and that you're not able to kind of see things clearly or get some kind of like closure on a situation. Be careful with the 5 of Swords because it can mean that there can be some really intense combativeness that can be going on, which can like leave you at a loss. So try to lead with love. Try to be focusing on bettering relationships, going deeper in relationships, remaining open, and trying to kind of heal some of the wounds that have maybe come up in recent years. Good luck, Libra.
We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's going on, Scorpio? You are going to experience Venus's transit through the sign of Aries in your natal 6th house. Obviously, a little tricky having Venus in Aries and then also having Venus going through the 6th house. This is like a double dose of a lot of work when it comes to love and money. This is a house that deals with health, work, and daily routines, pets, as well as your office space and your coworkers. So Venus wants to find pleasure, right? And when she goes through the 6th house, it's like, it feels like finding pleasure is a chore. Having peace in relationships is challenging. Being able to, manage your health, you can do it, but, it requires some kind of work. So Venus is directly connected to your 7th house of committed relationships, clients, your marketplace, and spouses, as well as your 12th house of the hidden subconscious, secrets, and things that go on behind the scenes. So it is possible for my Aries and Aries risings that this is bringing energy to work and health routines, but with a risk of overdoing it or starting unsustainable habits. So habits that you start during this period, they can be harder to break, or it can be kind of negative for your health. Overworking can be one of them. Overworking out can be another one of them. Being too consumed maybe with stuff that's going on at work, too consumed with problems that are going on in a relationship as well. Now, when Venus goes to this house, she wants to heal, she wants to organize, and she wants to be of service. So helping other people can actually be beneficial as long as you do it like at a reasonable, kind of balanced way. I think that I would encourage you guys to take on new health routines and work projects that you enjoy, right? Work has to feel enjoyable for you with Venus in the 6th house. Now, I also really recommend implementing changes gradually. The shadow period could lead to a reevaluation of your work or your health habits. So it's almost like, is your sleep routine impacting your physical health or productivity routine? Maybe. Venus will obviously retrograde back to the 5th house, and she will move back into a house and a sign that she really enjoys being in: pleasure, creativity, romance, and children. My interpretation of this is that some Scorpio and Scorpio risings are anticipating making a job change. And I can see that because of an eclipse in your 6th house, a retrograde in your 6th house, Saturn and Neptune going into your 6th house. Some of you guys are either getting serious about your health habits, really serious about productivity, or there is a big change on the horizon with your work or with your schedule. And I think with Mars being retrograde the last few months, it's kind of mirroring some of the same thing. Now, for others, it can mean that you're carving out more time in your schedule or your day-to-day routine for dating, for romance, for focusing on time with your kids, or launching your own business. For some of you guys who are thinking about becoming parents, Venus retrograde into the 5th house with the North Node and Saturn there and eclipses for the next 18 months, many Scorpio and Scorpio risings are going to become parents. This is going to be a little tedious in trying to figure out how to better manage health as well as your work routines to be able to make this happen. So I think this is going to be like a reevaluation period of, okay, if this is something that I really love, be that a person, a job, maybe even a new, hobby that can become a career, you're needing to really tend to that, nurture that, and make sure that you're willing to, make the necessary sacrifices for what it is that you love and desire. Certainly love and relationships look a lot better when Venus is going to be back in Pisces, so you have that to kind of look forward to. But for right now, love doesn't happen unless you make the time. The card that I got for you is the Page of Swords. So watch for connections with Libras, Geminis, and Aquariuses. This is going to be significant, but this can also be about messages, communications, having conversations, direct, bold communication. Sometimes unpleasant. Page of Swords can be like somebody says something brashly, or there's some criticism, or there's like a little bit of like a squabble or a fight. And obviously, the 6th house is 12th to the 7th. So I think a lot of Libra and Scorpio risings are going to have a lot of relational issues. I think that a lot of this stems from the retrogrades in or through the 6th house, where there can be some kind of subconscious issues that have been brewing in relationships for some time that are finally coming to the surface. Be mindful of your words and how you communicate. Try to be able to be patient as well with people at work, or with pets, or, with partners that might be experiencing some health challenges. Try to communicate in a loving way and ask other people what they need, and show your devotion to those that you're committed to, because you guys can actually go deeper and be able to kind of work out some of these kinks together. Good luck, Scorpio.
We've got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? I think you're going to love this transit. You have Venus going into Aries in your natal 5th house. Obviously, it's a fellow sister fire sign. So if you have any Sagittarius, 0 to 10, maybe even 11 degrees, you will be receiving trines from Venus, which can be very, very fortuitous, very romantic, very lovely. And Venus is moving into a part of this chart that is all about fun. It's about taking chances. It's about romance, children, creativity, self-expression, and personal hobbies. So you definitely feel like fun and romance is on the agenda for the better part of the next 2 months. Now, with Venus moving into this sign, it's going to be all about, relationships, I think, taking more of an intense turn. Now, in some cases, relationships here can be short-lived. There can be flings, one-night stands that can happen. Venus in the 5th house. But it can also mean that you are really getting in touch with what the heart wants, what it is that you really desire when it comes to love and romance. Also loving the self, right? Venus being connected to love and values in the 5th house of self and joy. What do you enjoy doing? What hobbies, what artistic projects, what little, side things are you doing that, you can kind of tune in more to? I do predict that new romantic interests or creative projects might start, but obviously their longevity will be questioned during the retrograde. And I would really focus on enjoying the passion, but not rushing commitments, and use the retrograde to reassess creative or romantic endeavors. Now, the 5th house is also speculative. So like gambling or, investments can definitely kind of come up here, especially if you're dealing with like the stock market. And Venus has connections to the 11th house of other people and friends, as well as the 6th house of health, habits, and routine. So it almost seems to me like this whole transit is, how do I find more time for fun? How do I find more time for adventure? How can I connect more with communities? How can I make time in my day-to-day life to do this stuff? Now, if you have children in your life, certainly the Venus transit and the Venus retrograde can be significant for that as well. You can see lots of new beginnings for your children that can be happening. You may be feeling like taking more risks when it comes to your creative habits, as well as your romantic relationships. And I feel like as long as you're making time for things, like this is going to be a transit that you're really going to enjoy. And obviously we're going to see Venus that's going to be retrograding back from the 5th into the 4th eventually. So that can mean that there's something that's needing to change on the home front or within the family or in a domestic sense, whether that's selling property, rearranging furniture, moving from one place to another, renovating, or making those changes in preparation for the 5th house Venus transit. So do you have a kid moving back in with you? Do you want to create a craft room? Do you need an office space? Are you going to be having children? Do you need to rearrange the home in order to do that? Do you need to move to do that? These kinds of topics might be kind of coming up for you, or potentially even, moving in with a romantic partner. That can be another theme that can happen with this transit. All right, so let's see what this means for you, Sag and Sag rising. You guys get the 5 of Wands. Uphill battle, challenges, feeling like a little defeated, or feeling like, you have to keep pushing during this transit, basically. You have to keep reminding yourself that the changes that you're making, either internally or on the home space, you're doing it for your own happiness. You're doing it for your own joy. You're doing it for your children. You're doing it for a romantic partner, whatever is going to make you happy. And I think the 5 of Wands is about kind of feeling like you keep getting kicked down, and no matter what you do, there is some sense of like delay. So we don't want to force things during the retrograde that's going to happen in March. We want to take our time, be more present in the moment, enjoy what you're doing, make decisions based off of that to be able to kind of bring you the home life and the romantic life that you desire. Good luck, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's up, Capricorn? You've got Venus moving into Aries in your natal 4th house of home and family. So this is roots, property, your domestic zone. This could also be putting an emphasis on family, or particularly female family members. Sometimes when Venus is in the 4th house, you are either looking for property, you're visiting family, family's coming to stay with you, there's a woman in your home. So watch for that theme. Now, Venus in the 4th house is going to be about stirring up family dynamics, which could lead to improvement projects out of impulse. I predict that family conflicts could emerge, but you also might feel the urge to relocate or move or redesign or rework something about your living space. Now, I recommend thinking twice before starting large home projects right now. Reflect on what really makes you feel at home. Venus is connected to the 10th house of career, work, and responsibility. It's also connected to the 5th house of children, romance, and creativity. So you might be feeling like you're taking it on yourself to manage a home situation, to repaint, redesign, redecorate. It might mean that you're taking time away from work to be present at home with a home or family matters situation. I would say be very careful with property, whether you're going to be redesigning something or you're renovating something or you're going to be buying a house or anything like that, because Venus seems like a good idea there now, but when you start to have eclipses here and retrogrades, there can definitely be a complete rearrangement. Where you thought you were moving and where you're actually going can kind of go in a different direction in March and April. For right now, I think you're opening up to, where can I find the perfect work-life balance? Where am I going to have more of an opportunity to date, to have fun, to be closer to the entertainment that I like? The shopping centers, the entertainment centers, food and restaurant places. This might be kind of coming up for you as you're thinking about where you may potentially be moving or relocating to. Now, as you know, Saturn very soon, your chart ruler, is also going to be going into Aries. So this is why I feel like some of you guys are either relocating, you're going to be moving back home, or you're going to be taking on a big renovation project. Make sure you thoroughly inspect anything that has to do with heat. Make sure you also thoroughly inspect everything revolving around the floor and the foundation. Some of you guys might be going back and forth whether or not you want to completely rebuild something or if you just want to buy something new, but this will be a process that will unfold over several months' time. For right now, look for a place that looks and feels like home. And if you don't find it, you can find it during the retrograde as Venus dips back into the 3rd house. And it might mean that you're considering another area. Maybe you're traveling to a different place. Maybe you're going to be talking to siblings and neighbors more so about some of the changes that's happening for you as well as your family. The card that I got for you is the 3 of Cups. I like this for you for Venus in the 4th. It's like making the whole process of some new change when it comes to your home zone very enjoyable. It might mean that there are several people involved in this process, especially thinking about Venus moving back into the 3rd house. Some of you guys might be having to communicate and talking to relatives or siblings more about managing or handling a parent. Certainly Saturn and Neptune going into Aries can be a heavy energy where you're more responsible for taking care of an aging or health impaired relative. So I think that the 3 of Cups can be like, hey, how can we make the best of it? How can we live closer, be closer to each other? How can we help each other? And it can also be a time where I feel like you're finally prioritizing your home life and what's going on with your home life rather than being totally consumed with what's going on with work. So the next couple of months are very significant for you as all of these transits are going to be squaring the sign of Capricorn. So definitely recommend going and learning about Saturn and Neptune transiting your 4th house. Maybe talking to a Sag or Sag rising and getting some insight from them how that manifested. But yeah, 3 of Cups, doing something as a group, having a assistance or some kind of celebration that's going to be going on. So maybe you're celebrating that you're finally selling, building, moving, and that's like a really positive thing. All right, we've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Venus transit through the sign of Aries, and that's going to be happening in your natal 3rd house. All right, well, for you guys, I like this, especially right off the bat with like Venus coming into a sextile with Pluto in your sign. I feel like can be very fortuitous, where it's really opening the door to change in how you communicate and express what it is that you love and what you value. Now, the 3rd house is all about communication. It can be about siblings, short distance trips, traveling. It can also be about vehicles here, okay, your neighborhood. So when I think about Venus going into this house, I definitely feel like Venus becomes a little bit more direct. So, communication becomes direct. Yes, this can lead to conflicts if it's not tempered, but it's good for reconnecting with siblings and neighbors. Now, I predict that there will be more social interactions. Just watch for misunderstandings and communication. And I really recommend practicing patience in your conversations because eventually the retrograde will bring up past issues in communication and it'll come to light. And you can use that time for reconciliation. Now, Venus is connected to the 9th house of education, travel, legal matters, or themes revolving around in-laws. This can also be your philosophy or belief. and the 4th house of home, family, and your domestic zone. So I do think this can be about going back and forth with family at a distance. This can be about going back and forth with in-laws or reevaluating whether or not there's going to be a move of some kind. Legal documents, education documents, travels, passports, visas, all that stuff really need to be looked at very closely because that can be tied to Venus's transit in the 3rd house. Knowing that Venus is connected to those houses and it will retrograde into the 2nd next month makes me feel like big budget purchases like buying a car, relocations, or legal matters, or paying for school or travel. These are purchases that I would proceed very carefully with because there can be some pretty significant changes in this department. Specifically with retrogrades back into the 2nd house, it's, do I have the money for this? I've signed up for the trip, I've paid for the tickets, but do I have the money to go? Do I have the money to go back to school? Do I have the money to buy this car? Impulse themes in the 3rd house are, I bought the car, I paid for the trip, I did this, I did that. And then when it comes down to paying the balance on it or being able to have excess funds, money can get a little tight here in the next month or two. Now, something else to kind of think about is, I think this could be about renovations or investments into your home. Because of Venus's connection to the 4th house. And there can be a back and forth with your relatives or with your partners revolving around whether or not you want to buy or sell something, whether or not you want to put more money into something, and how much it's going to cost to potentially build or furnish. So take your time when it comes to big budget purchases like these things, really think it through. But for right now, short distance trips, definitely engaging in new things that you're learning that you might enjoy. And also time that you might be spending with neighbors or siblings can definitely be very pleasurable. The card that I got for you is the Queen of Coins. A great card for you, Aquarius. I feel like this softens some of the themes of Venus going retrograde in the 2nd house, where it's like, oh, am I going to have the money for that? When the Queen of Coins is like, no, when I make sound decisions financially, or when it comes to my budget, or when it comes to, family expenses, home expenses, you're making really good decisions. And you're going to make decisions that are going to be more so based off of what you value. Obviously, Saturn and Neptune in your 2nd house, less is more. There's more of like a minimalist kind of direction that you're going with money. Maybe you're a little bit more idealistic with financial ventures, but that's okay. I think that this is kind of telling me either you're going to be more of a sound mind with your resources during this transit. Maybe you're learning more about money during this transit. You're learning more about, saving or investing. And you may receive some support from another earth sign. So from a Capricorn, a Virgo, or a Taurus, could help you, because the Queen of Coins can be a woman who's kind of helping you pay for something, helping kind of guide you with your finances, or make better sense of some of your expenses. Good luck. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You are going to be experiencing Venus's transit through the 2nd house in the sign of Aries. All right, well, I think you're going to like this transit. Venus likes being in the 2nd house, and certainly having her there for a month is not a bad transit, bringing you more opportunity when it comes to money, values, and personal possessions. Now, I'm assuming that the effects that you're going to have with this transit is that on one hand, money can come to you, especially money from loans, partners' income. They have a boost in something. Maybe there's an inheritance, maybe an investment pays off. So you feel like you have more money to spend. So things can actually feel pretty positive for the month of February. But there can also be impulsive spending or impulsive investments. So you want to watch for that. This is a time to really reassess what you truly value, as Venus will be in shadow in your 2nd house of personal values. I predict there can be a sudden increase in income or a surge to buy something, this urge to buy something luxurious, but unnecessary, okay? So, gotta buy the car, gotta buy the watch, gotta buy the computer, gotta buy the jewelry. Particularly, it's gonna be things that you would put on credit cards, or it's gonna be things for vehicles or travel, or things that you wear in your hands. So wristwatches, rings, bracelets, things like that, you're gonna wanna buy. And I would say be careful with those impulses with that transit. Obviously, we know that, we can see sudden losses in income that can kind of come up with a Venus retrograde. And we can also see that we might actually regret or want to return big purchases or change direction in big investments. So really it's about focusing on your understanding of your values more deeply. And this is going to be pretty personal for you. I mean, the second house isn't just your resources, it's also your personal style. So Venus will turn retrograde next month and move back into Pisces, which in the first house is good. It's more for your personal appearance. It's going to be more about your beauty, your attraction, but you might be rethinking something. So rather than making impulse decisions now, maybe wait until Venus is back in Pisces closer to April. You can reevaluate how much money you would want to spend on a style change, how much money you would potentially want to spend on a car or on some kind of luxury travel. This is also one of the two signs that is going to be the most impacted by this retrograde. So I think, personal cosmetic surgery, major changes in regards to your health, major changes in regards to your appearance. Be very careful making some of these changes under some of these retrograde shadows, because I could see a lot of people spending a lot of money on a new wardrobe, a cosmetic surgery, major changes with their hair, stuff like that, and then they don't like it. So you're definitely better off waiting until closer to the end of April to make any of these bigger decisions. Now, Venus is directly connected to other people's money as well. So this can be a good storyline for some Pisces and Pisces risings, where if you're owed something, right? If you're owed a bonus, if you're owed money from a partner, if you lent somebody money, if you've invested in something and it pays off, hey, it could mean, hey, I've got more money to play with. I've got more capabilities of being able to make some changes with, my purchases as you're getting closer to spring. But definitely keep in mind that everything can be reversed. So having Venus retrograde in the second house can materialize as a time where there's a turning point where there isn't as much liquidity as what you once had. So you're going to really want to be focusing on budgeting and kind of keeping a close eye on your resources, especially seeing Saturn and Neptune coming into your second house soon, where a lot of Pisces and Pisces risings, yes, you're going to be entrepreneurial, but you're going to be more financially reliant on yourself. Okay? And the card that we get for you is the Nine of Swords. Okay, so why am I the only one left standing? Why is this falling on me? Why is it up to me? Or I don't know how much longer I can do this by myself. The good news is that with Aries energy, there is this boost of enthusiasm and I think optimism and willingness to get the job done. So even if you're feeling like, hey, I've gone through a separation recently, I don't have as much financial support from someone, or, I quit my job, or I have less clients, you'll be able to overcome the challenge. It's just going to be a matter of, I think, really working on your self-esteem and your values and really knowing your worth and not giving up. And not letting other people determine your value either. You've got an eclipse coming in your second house pretty soon, which is definitely going to talk about a turning point with your financial situation. With that solar eclipse, there is an opportunity to set new intentions in regards to how you want to make money in the future and become more independent. Good luck, Pisces. All right, guys. Well, I hope that's helpful in giving you some insight into Venus in Aries. Like I said, I'm leaving you guys on a bit of a cliffhanger, so you'll have to come back later in the month and we will be talking about the Venus retrograde part 2 of this transit. Make sure you head over to my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. Sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to be putting out probably in the next week or two my Venus retrograde webinar. It's going to be a private webinar for sale that I'm doing, and I'm also going to be working on the eclipses for the month of March. We've got a solar eclipse in Aries, a lunar eclipse in Virgo, so hopefully having that out for you guys really soon. But let me know, what do you feel with this incoming retrograde? What are you excited to do for the next month with bold, feisty Venus in Aries? And make sure you give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Consider sharing this with other astro enthusiasts. It's really helpful. It helps the channel grow. You guys can catch me back here on Thursday, and I'm excited to see how some of these transits manifest. So let's see where it goes. Be optimistic, be enthusiastic, be brave, right? We got Venus in Aries, and I will catch all of you guys back here very soon. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.